Hello everyone, I'm Inverse and this is game number 5 in the replay review marathon series. Getting near the end. Gonna be one more after this and then just some normal casts. Thinking about doing some build order guides, stuff like that, so let me know in the comments and stuff if that'd be something you'd be interested in. Anyways, we do have a Wehrmacht against Americans game. This time it'll be from the Wehrmacht player's perspective. First Wehrmacht against US game I've casted in this marathon from the Wehrmacht player's perspective, and I really feel comfortable with my Wehrmacht play lately, so hopefully I'll be able to pass a little bit of that on to you guys. We'll have Soulmessiah down here in the bottom on Semois, and his American opponent, the good old alcoholic, fairly decent, at least in my experiences playing against him, American player. So without further ado, let's get this game going and talk a little bit about the map. Semois, I personally dislike it for Wehrmacht. I like it a lot as Americans, however I really think positions, starting positions, really factor a lot into that. I like it starting south, which is the position Soulmessiah started right now. I like it at this position, or at these positions rather, for Wehrmacht, and the reason for this is it's very easy to lock down this left hand side. You can see there are a few hedges, but you can wire off this area, you can control this house, you can control this green cover, you can funnel units into this choke. There are a lot of good mine locations around this area. You can wire this off if you want, you can wire this off or mine it if you want. A lot of good locations to force your opponent off the map on the left hand side. Meanwhile, if we look up here, starting from the north player's perspective, we have a lot of flanks. Whoops, wrong button there. We have a flank route there, a flank route there, there, and not to mention we have just this entire open fuel point right up here, whereas this bottom fuel point far more difficult to get to with this pretty difficult to cross cut off right there. This can be wired off and an MG or something can be placed over here to defend from that side. Now, I'm not sure if you guys noticed, but we did have a fast build, a quick build by both pioneers on this Wehrmacht quarters. I personally like this if you're going to go for a fast MG, and don't like it if you go for the fast Volks squad that Soulmessiah did do. And the reason for this is if you go fast Volks and you quick build, you're going to finish building before you have the 280 manpower to build the Volks squad. Whereas if you quick build and you're going for the MG, you're going to get right around 250, 260 by the time the Krieg Barracks finishes building, and that's perfect because you can build the MG right away. So just something to keep in mind. It's not too big a deal. I mean, he did still cap this point, but I mean, you get this income coming up a little bit quicker. It's a small point, but it's definitely a valuable thing to point out. I'm just going to pause it right now because there's just a little bit I want to talk about the early capping order for Wehrmacht. We see two Volks squads on the field. Now, when we're thinking about a capping order for whatever faction you're playing against, you need to be thinking about what resources and what points you need to be emphasizing. For Wehrmacht, those points are munitions points. You don't really need fuel that much early game. Fuel is a luxury for a Wehrmacht player. You can survive every single game going tier 2 and you'll be completely safe. Sure, your opponent might be able to abuse that, get fast bars, get a fast weapon support center, but you have everything to counter anything literally that he could possibly do in tier 1 and tier 2. Meanwhile, your opponent gonna have to tech around, gonna have to switch things up to try to counter you. With that in mind, munitions becomes the really important resource to have. We see these 10 munitions in the middle, very good to try to get as quickly as possible for Wehrmacht. Furthermore, you really want to focus on connecting this one point and trying to keep this point down here as much as possible. This is all starting from the south side, of course. This one Volks squad sending it up here, I don't particularly not like this. I think this is perfectly fine, and the reason for this is if your opponent does a standard capping order, he is going to have finished capping this and is going to be moving right around here by the time you come up on this point. And with this in mind, you're going to be able to force that engineer to retreat, and you're going to be able to either capture this point, you might even be able to harass this if you're feeling brave, and regardless, you give your opponent less map control, you make him feel more uncomfortable because you've pushed him off, which means less map presence. He's not going to know where your squad is. He might have stayed here, or you could have moved him into the middle and you might be able to catch a rifle squad, something like that. So just something to keep in mind. Two Volks squads. I'm just going to get it playing now so we get to see how this plays out. Two Volks squads. you're definitely going to want to try to keep them as close together as you possibly can in the early game. Splitting them up is possible, but a little bit risky. You don't really need all that much map control as a Wehrmacht player early in the game. We see a cap right there and a cap right there. This is capping, and this just got finished capping. There's going to be probably a rifle squad back here, so you're going to have to be a little bit careful about that. There's the engineer squad I talked about being right there, and this one engineer going to hop in this house. If Soulmessiah is smart, he's just going to park right here. This squad can only shoot out of one window and is not going to do very much damage at all. This Volks squad is easily going to be able to push him off. Meanwhile, on the top, he kind of gets caught out of position. This is the problem of being far away from this house. I'm just going to pause for another second right now. I'll try to pause a bit less after the early game. There's just a lot of really small early game points I want to point out, especially on this map. This house right here, this is the focal point for any assault on the north. Even if you're only fighting against an engineer, you really need to keep in mind the fact that your opponent could be sending rifle squads. We see 2 rifle squads right here, so hopefully this Volks squad retreats right away. But if this Volks squad was, say, down here when he was shooting it in this cover, he could have hopped in this building and could have either done a bit of damage to these rifle squads before retreating, or wait for this Volks squad to come up and support, and maybe even an engineer, or a pioneer rather, sorry, something like that. Something just to delay your opponent, keep him off the map for as long as possible. But we see the Volks instead electing to run over here. I really don't like this because he's not 100% going to win this battle. He's dealing half damage because he's moving away from the units that are charging at him. He's taking way too much damage, and damage is almost as important as not losing squads and not losing manpower in the early game, because look at all this damage. He just now lost his first member on this Volks squad, and he's already down to below half health. This is going to have drastic ramifications on this Volks squad for the rest of the game, and the reason for this is munitions, healing for a Wehrmacht player costs munitions. It costs 30 munitions per squad, and that's pretty darn expensive early game, especially for a faction that really needs that munitions income for other things like flamers. If you're going for a fast sniper, which Soulmessiah is, going for the Volks Volks Sniper MG, you need mines. I'm just going to pause it right now because Volks Volks Sniper MG is my preferred strategy against Americans. It's also my preferred strategy on these map positions. However, just a few things to keep in mind. You need mines, 100% need mines, and you need mines in important locations. You need mines where they're going to flank, and you need mines where their vehicles might be. You need mines in chokes, in other words, any sort of choke, and you need to be very smart with your Volks squads. You need to not lose much health. I'm just going to get it going right now. You need to not lose much health, and you need to not lose much men on your squads. Like this squad, instantly retreat. He should get out of there. This rifle squad is going to come up and reinforce. Instead, he's moving backwards. If you're going to move backwards like this, just retreat. Like there's 0 point unless you know you have say squads coming up to reinforce, something like that. But this squad just lost 3 men for what? He got into green cover right now, and now he's going to retreat. Instead of instantly retreating, probably not losing a single man, and still being able to get into this advantageous green cover position simply because of the architecture and layout of the map. We have the MG on the field. We need those mines as soon as possible. He's going to hop in this building. This is a good, smart decision. Just going to delay a little bit, do a little bit of damage. As I said, damage is a premium early game. Makes it easier to deal manpower damage later on. 300 manpower right now, so I really want to see a med bunker go up, preferably right around here, and tier 2 get tech 2 as soon as possible. Furthermore, 58 munitions, should be 2 mines, probably 1 right there and 1 either right here or right here. However, one of those could be down here as well. Your goal right now, Soulmessiah's goal should not be the middle. This is a common pitfall of Wehrmacht players and players in general, newer players on this map. They think if they control the middle, they control the game, and that's really not the case, especially for Wehrmacht and on these positions, because if we look at the resource distribution, there's 10 munitions in here. That's all there is. There's just 10 munitions, and there's a VP that is rather inconsequential this early in the game. Meanwhile, we look at the top side, there's a 16 right here, which already gives you more income than these 2 points combined. There's a plus 10 up here that if you force your opponent to retreat once, you should be able to cap, provided you already have these 3 points right here. Nice mine by the American player right there. And being up here also allows you to harass into the American player's fuel point down here. In my opinion, the best way to play this map on these starting locations is to focus on this left-hand side, cap these points, use your MG and use a Volks squad in this building, as well as your sniper and some mines to prevent flanks from down here, to prevent flanks from here and here, these chokes. Wire off this area to prevent your opponent from easily moving around the map this way like this. You don't want him to be able to do that. You want him to be walking at you from here, from here, from here, and from here, because these are all areas you can easily deal with. You put a med bunker down here, it gives you a stronghold, you focus down flamers, and you're in really a favorable position. We do see a mine going down right here, so good job by Soulmessiah. However, I really think he's crippling himself a little bit just by virtue of the location he is deciding to set up his defenses, and furthermore, the lack of a early med bunker is actually an incredibly huge, enormous deal. Furthermore, the lack of any sort of manpower or munitions income aside from this 1+10 and this 1+5, also an extremely huge deal. I cannot overemphasize just how important munitions are early game to a Wehrmacht player. Furthermore, just keeping in mind, you've invested manpower in these squads. Sitting them around, especially when you do not have favorable map control, is slightly uncomfortable for me. The reason for this is you've invested in these units and you're not getting any payoff out of them. You're not really killing much. I mean, this squad's doing a little bit of damage. Its sniper should be coming back. Snipers should always be kept mobile and uncloaked as long as possible. Reason for this is you need to be doing as much damage as possible with the sniper. This is a hefty investment. You need to kill a lot of riflemen to make this investment worth it. Like right now, 3 kills, like that may seem, you know, that's decent, 3 kills, but that is like 81 manpower's worth of damage. And hey, there's a counter sniper. Alright, so just gonna pause and talk about what this means, this counter sniper. We have tier 2 coming up. We still do not have a medic bunker anywhere. I really want to see a med bunker. Furthermore, I want to see a little bit of aggression onto this left hand side. We don't have a cap on this munitions point. This is very easy for the Wehrmacht player, the bottom player, to get to, and very difficult for the top player. Look at the travel distances. This is the base for the Wehrmacht player right there. This is the base for the American player all the way around here. Lots of danger, 2 chokes that can easily be controlled. And if he comes through this way, there's just the entire middle, which is a very dangerous location for the Wehrmacht player for the American player to navigate. We have a second MG, and I really don't like this with no bars being shown. This MG is not going to help against weapon support center tech whatsoever. It's going to be another target for the sniper, another target for the mortar, and it's not going to do a whole lot of good. Instead, an earlier tier 2 would have been nice, a med bunker would have been nice, and a bike probably not so bad of an idea. Right now, your singular goal, this squad should retreat, your singular goal should not be to counter snipe your opponent. This is a common kind of focus that an American or a Wehrmacht player rather gets himself into, is thinking, hey, he has a sniper, I have a sniper, I can't shoot until I know I can counter snipe his sniper, and this just isn't the case. If his sniper shoots, this is the perfect time for you to just take a shot at anything. It doesn't matter. You just want to kill something. And the reason for this is you need to get as much use out of that unit as possible. And the safest time to shoot your sniper is right after your opponent is shot with his sniper, because he's not going to be able to shoot you again with that sniper. If he has another sniper, sure, he might be able to kill your sniper, but that is extremely unlikely, especially if you keep your sniper moving. Always right click to move after you take a shot. And like right there, just taking a shot, perfectly fine option to do. I mean, it gives you, there's a little bit too much going on. I'm going to pause it for one more time. I promise, guys, I won't be pausing too much after this, but like right here, this sniper just waiting for the counter snipe, and it really isn't worth it. Instead, he really should be taking a few pot shots at this rifle squad, backing up actually right now, because this rifle squad's going to kill this Volks squad along with that sniper very quickly. There's an MG right here. Probably should flip around to about probably right there. That way he can catch anything that comes in here. And sniper. There we go. Very nice counter snipes. That was a good job by Soulmessiah. He's probably just going to want to retreat with this sniper, unless he retreat with one of these. He's going to lose his Volks. Yeah. He did manage to turn around the MG, so that's a good idea. He's going to want to decloak, and run away. Decloak and run away. Always decloak when you're trying to run away like that. That was a bad idea to retreat. He's actually lucky that that squad got pinned, but there was really no point to retreat right there. Just a small micro thing. I mean, it's not a big deal because he did survive, but when you're cloaked and your opponent's rifles are suppressed, he's not going to be able to catch up to your sniper. He would have had to retreat anyways, and he wouldn't have had to, or he wouldn't have lost all that manpower or all that health rather on that sniper, and now be forced to spend munitions on healing it. So at this point, Soulmessiah in a pretty favorable position, however, still worried about the lack of presence on this left-hand side. It gives the American player a lot of flanking opportunities. When you look at the American player's manpower or munitions income, it's absolutely insane. We've got 32 from these two, another 5 here, 37, 47, 57 manpower or munitions per second. I can't speak. 57 one of these days, 57 munitions per minute, and that is discluding the possibility of an observation post being here. We haven't checked this point ever, so there could be an observation post there. There could be an observation post down here. All things that you need to keep in the back of your mind just in case. Furthermore, keeping these MGs so close together, I really don't like this. This is a little bit dangerous. One off-map barrage could potentially hit both of these, which is just too close in general. Furthermore, we see that one Gren squad up on the top left capping the VP before he caps the munitions point. Not necessarily a bad idea. I just like to see the resource point being capped first at this point in the game. And we have a Comcraft Center. I'm going to pause and just say I really do not like this tech choice against fast weapon support center play, and now nothing. Like, we don't see flanks, we don't see bars on this rifle squad, we haven't seen grenades, we have zero reason to believe the American player is sticking on infantry based technology. We can assume fairly safely that he's going to be teching up, and that tech choice is almost certainly going to be motor pool. If he does not tech motor pool, he is not going to be able to do anything against this unit composition unless he goes bars, and he's not going bars. And if he goes tank depot, there's just going to be too much of the map in the Wehrmacht player's hands, and it's just not going to be viable. So 90% chance he's going to be going for a motor pool after this play. And with that in mind, the motor pool combined with the weapon support center and then the ability to get bars afterwards, I really don't like this early Comcraft Center. I would have much rather, this fuel hasn't really been harassed very much. This fuel is very easily capturable by the Wehrmacht player. This fuel down here, fairly easily at least, connectable and securable for the Wehrmacht player. I would like to see a faster tier 3 tech, get a Puma out, get a Puma or two and a Neville, something like that, and then go for the veterancy tech, not the other way around, because Vet 1, your opponent already has snipers, or already at least has the ability to produce snipers. All it takes is a bar tech, a couple more snipers, and your opponent has easily countered your tech choice, as opposed to, say, going for a Storm Armory tier 3 and then forcing your opponent to have something to counter it, because his current tech choice has not countered. What the heck, where'd that bunker go? He built a bunker somewhere. Bunker, there it is, med bunker. Finally, a little bit too late though, but yeah, like right now he sees Vet 1. If he's building anything out of his motor pool, he's going to cancel it right away, get another sniper. If he's building his motor pool, he's going to cancel it, get another sniper. Whatever he does right now, that reveal right there just told him, hey, you can build a sniper and you're not going to get punished for it. You can build another sniper and you're going to be 100% safe, because there's no way I'm going to have a vehicle on the field to punish you for getting that extra anti-infantry unit in time. If the American player gets a sniper and then techs straight to motor pool, even if Soulmessiah goes right for tier 3 after this fact, he is not going to get a Puma out before the M8 or before an AT gun. And that was unfortunate, but actually kind of funny, because the rifle squad got hit by it too. But yeah, that's just the fact. That's the math of the game. That's just the math of the situation. Furthermore, we have really static MGs down here. I'd like to see this one MG perhaps moving down here, but more likely just flipping around, face right around here. This MG moving up onto this left-hand side like this. And the reason for this is the center has been fairly easily locked down. And is that a mortar? I think that was a mortar. Yeah, a mortar shell went down right there. But the center's been pretty easily taken care of. The left-hand side is the important side at this point. And is there really a hole? That's unfortunate. He's going to probably want to just back up, flip around. Actually, this MG is in a pretty good location, but this one MG is probably going to die. Meanwhile, on the left-hand side, this rifle squad is absolutely screwed. But we really need more capping on this left-hand side. Furthermore, we have a fairly big, or a fairly large amount of floating. 450 right now. If he's not going to be teching up, he should be getting Vet 2. Since he already got Vet 1, he might as well get Vet 2 and just make things a little bit easier for him going into the mid-game. Furthermore, always should be keeping his sniper moving. And at this point in the game, I'd like to see the sniper cloaked a little bit more. Reason for this is your opponent does have a weapon support center, so you do know there's the threat of snipers on the field at some time. Now we do finally see a shift over to the left-hand side for capping. However, I would like to see that accompanied by a shift over to the left-hand side with the MGs. It's very, very difficult to secure the left-hand side without MGs, especially at this point in the game when the American player are probably going to be getting bars or something like that or very, very soon at least. Taking the mortar out. Good job right there. Gonna want to keep the sniper moving though, keep it moving back. And we do have Vet 2 on the way. In that case, we have the 300 manpower for a Gran. I'd like to see another Gran on the field. And just taking a look at the munitions income, 27. It's been at 27 for probably the last 10 minutes. And that's really not a good thing for a Wehrmacht player. You need at least 35, I'd say, munitions income. You need to be able to lay a mine a minute in terms of munitions income, and then still have a little bit left over to do some other stuff like healing squads, like, I don't know, upgunning, upgrading rifles, or upgrading Panzerschreck, stuff like that, just to be safe. Now we do have a pack. I would like this pack a little bit further back, however. It's a little bit of a dangerous situation, or a dangerous position right now. The sniper's going to want to back up just a little bit. This mine is going to protect it, but it needs to just be worried a little bit. I really don't like this. This is ugly, and now we see the result of being just so passive. There's been one flank attempt the entire game on this middle, and it came probably 5 minutes ago, and just now we see capping on the left-hand side. Far too late, at least in my opinion. And there is a Sherman on the field, and the American player just hasn't really been punished for it that much. Finally pushing out on the right-hand side, and finally capping the left-hand side, but he capped, Soulmessiah managed to cap the the left-hand side at the exact moment that the American player got his tech, and is going to be able to easily push back over here, especially now that there's tier 3 on the field. And artillery, yep, on that. That's actually probably going to kill the pack too. That's unfortunate. That's why you don't put weapons teams close together, like, at all. Do not put weapons teams nearby one another. If this sniper dies, I'm going to be sad. But do not put weapons teams of any kind near one another. It's just not going to end very well for the weapons teams against the infantry company. The Sturm Armory, he would have had time to cancel it on seeing that Sherman, and fast, like super fast Sherman, and by super fast Sherman I mean nothing else before it. You can argue sure he got a weapon support center before it, that's something before it, but I mean nothing fuel intensive before the Sherman, and a weapon support center is definitely not fuel intensive. I'm just going to pause it right now and just say, regarding a reaction to a fast Sherman, I personally find, especially if you've already gotten the veterancy, the reaction to a fast Sherman should not be tier 3. It should be more Grens, another pack, so 2 packs, and Vet 3 infantry as soon as possible. The Vet 3 infantry will help against the vehicles far more than Vet 2, and the reason for this is vehicles don't do any different damage or accuracy or anything to elite armor, but the extra health just lets the Grens, the individual men, stay alive longer, which will help you against vehicles, whereas the elite infantry, or the elite armor rather, will not. Furthermore, I just really don't like this Sturm Armory decision. I would have liked it if it had come at the 12-minute mark, maybe, because at that point you can react by getting a Stug. You already have a Puma or two out on the field, and you can just get some more anti-infantry, or anti-tank rather, in the form of another Gren or another pack or a Stug, something like that, as opposed to, hey, I just got my Sturm Armory up, it's 17-minute mark, and hey, a Sherman just popped on the field. That's not good. I don't want anything out of this Sturm Armory because I can't use it safely because my opponent has the counter. And with that in mind, this is just kind of a waste. This is 240 manpower, and I think it's 40 fuel, something like that. This is just useless because nothing that comes out of here is really going to be useful right now. Maybe in 10 minutes, a Nebel might be helpful, maybe an upgun Puma, maybe a Stug if you need some kind of mobile AT. Something like that might be useful, but at this point right now, none of that is useful at all. So in summary, I'd like to see Vet 3 and another Tier 2 unit, either another pack or a Grand, probably another pack, just because if we look at the anti-tank capabilities of Soulmessiah, he has nothing. Like on the field right now, he has Vet 2, but that's really not going to do much good against the Sherman. He's throwing grenades, which is the last thing you want to do in this situation. Look at his manpower income, or look at his munitions income. Look at the number of munitions he has. He should have retreated, first of all, from this engagement far, far long ago. Very, very, very long ago. That was really, really not a good idea. I assume he was waiting for that Shrek, but in that case, he should not have been fighting the rifle squads. And the reason why I think that grenade was a terrible idea is because he's going to need another Panzer Shrek. One Panzer Shrek, especially when his pack is down here, probably going to be recruited by the American, and if not, it's at a sliver of health and could die very, 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 very easily. He's going to need 2 Shreks just to buy him a little bit of time to get some more AT up, maybe get another pack up, something like that. But as it stands, that grenade just kind of not really doing anything and delaying that Shrek by a fairly decent amount of time. It will get up fairly quickly, so it's not too big a deal, but against really, really, really high level players who know how to exploit something like that, it's just going to be an issue. Furthermore, we have a lone Pio squad, Flamer, coming down here. Not necessarily a bad idea, however, I would like to see this squad with the main army. A single Pio squad can get fairly easily focused down by bars, unless he gets it into a house. But no, there's a Sherman there, so he's going to want to jump out of that instantly. He's going to probably lose that squad. I don't think he's really paying attention to it. Yep, and he loses it. G-Wagons, so I keep forgetting about these Tales of Valor units. The Geschosswagen, definitely a good potential counter to the tanks. Of course, I would have much rather see heavier emphasis on Tier 2 since we already have the veterancy, and just using, say, the Geschosswagen as a little bit of support. Gonna want to be bringing it over here, getting a bit of damage in on this Sherman. Oh, that was unfortunate right there. But I'm just going to pause and say it's always the small things in RTS games that really, really make the difference. Things like, this is your main form of AT. Move it to where the tank is. Just kind of simple things like that, like, hey, I can do that a few seconds later, and yeah, some of the time it won't be that big of a deal, but in other times like this, hey, that could be an extra shot or two, and that might make the difference in killing that squad. I can't count the number of times I've let Shermans escape with a sliver of health, and if I had just been able to react a half a second quicker, that Sherman would have been dead. Just small margins like that are very, very important in games such as Company of Heroes. Meanwhile, we see both Volks squads are dead. I actually missed those, but so I don't really know how they died. However, just unit preservation in general could be improved. We have this squad chilling in that building, not really doing much. These 2 squads were suppressed and under fire for a while. And I said this in a previous cast, and I'm just going to say it again just in case you, Soulmessiah, are watching and didn't watch the previous one. It's never a bad idea when you're trying to figure out when should I retreat, when can I stick around and be safe and still be aggressive with the units I have, even though it might seem like I'm at a disadvantage. Just retreat early. It's always safer 100% of the time. You're never going to lose something because you retreated early as opposed to retreating late. You are, however, going to lose something if you retreat late and you don't retreat early. And sure, there might be moments later on when you realize, hey, I can actually stick in here, because I have reinforcements coming and I have something that he doesn't know about, something that is going to let me kind of get an edge and push out and turn an apparent disadvantage into an advantage and surprise my opponent. But when you're not really confident in that, you're kind of, I don't know, should I stay here? I'm not really sure. Or should I run away? I can't really tell. Just run away. You're never gonna make a mistake running away, then as opposed to just kind of staying still and just kind of letting it happen, even though you're not really sure what's gonna happen. Furthermore, I really don't like this 3 Grens right beside each other because, hey, there's already coming in. And sure, he retreated, but look at that. Bam. That's actually an extremely unlucky artillery shell because Soulmessiah did retreat pretty darn early and still got completely destroyed by that 1 artillery shot. But, like, regardless of that, even if, if you don't blob your Grens like that, that artillery shell does literally 0 damage. Like, take advantage of the tab functionality. If you tab through your squads, like you select them, hit tab through a few times, and just right click, tab right click, tab right click, tab right click, and just spread your units out like that. If you don't think you have the APM to individually click each of the squads and then move them out and then click the other squad, move it out, and so on and so forth, just tab through, because it's really an easy thing and it really prevents stuff like that. Like, you're never going to get all your stuff killed by an artillery shell if you spread your squads out, because at most you're going to have to retreat 1 squad. And even then, you're probably not even going to have to retreat 1, because you're going to be able to micro around it and you're going to be able to get by it and not really have to worry about it, instead of absolutely having to worry about it and retreating all your squads, and now you've lost 1 and you're just in a very unfavorable position. So at this point in the game, I really don't like Soulmessiah's chances. Of course, it is a replay review, so it's a fairly good assumption to make that he loses this game. This Gren squad probably going to die. Pretty risky capping with such a low health squad. But yeah, that actually took a lot longer than I thought it would. And he dropped an MG42 LMG, which I really don't like, by the way, because you have to be standing still in order to actually do any damage with it. And while you're moving, that just means 1 less Car 98, or I think it's Car 98s that Grens shoot. I don't know. Could always check co-stats, but I really don't feel like checking co-stats, and my frame rate has absolutely dipped. Huh. So we're going to wait that out and just talk a little bit, because I don't want to really move the camera around that much. So I'm just going to open the tactile map and just kind of talk about what I think, at least personally, Soulmessiah could have done just a little bit better in this game, just to kind of make it go a little bit smoother. First of all, the early veterancy tech, really not a fan of it after you see something like a Compcraft Center, something like that. Really don't like it. And I mean, it is kind of personal preference, but at the same time, this is actually insane. There we go. Huh. My computer took a poo. That was fun. So yeah, the very early Compcraft Center. It's doing it again. Great. Dum-de-dum-de-dum. Back to normal. Curse you, terrible laptop computer. So yeah, I'm actually probably just going to cut this review off right about now. This is kind of not really worth it. The game's pretty much over, so just kind of in summary, the Compcraft Center really didn't like it. Would like to see faster tier 3 against something like the strategy that the American player was showing, which is being very passive. That's a time when, as a Wehrmacht player, you really need to be aggressive, kind of push out, take the map, focus on that left-hand side of Semois. Really important. But yeah, aside from that, I really can't think of anything else, and this lag is driving me crazy. So thank you for watching. Check me out, twitter.com/InverseTV, justin.tv/InverseTV. Subscribe to me on YouTube, follow me on JustinTV, whatever you like. Yeah, game 5 should be up pretty soon. So thank you for watching. See you guys next time.